Good afternoon, everyone. We are here for Mindset Makeover on IG. I actually have a special guest that's coming on. We are doing this live together. Super excited about sharing information about mindset. Mindset is literally one of those things that either holds us back or propels us forward. Yeah, but we're going to talk about it. So we are casually having a conversation today to chat about this. So I'm excited. So stick around, guys. All right, let's bring my. All right, doing this live together today. Hi, Katrina. Welcome. Good.
What's
Good
happening?
afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm doing great. How
Yes,
about
indeed.
yourself?
Ooh, phenomenally well. But we just getting started.
Yes, right.
You already
So
know.
this is East Coast meets West Coast.
Yes, indeed. All in the name of building the mindset.
Yes, absolutely. So we're excited to be here with you guys. Today we're talking about mindset. Okay, I mean, who wants to talk mindset? Because it is one of the things that it's present, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm gonna let you start because I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm gonna
Yeah.
let you roll, and I'm gonna roll with you.
Let's jump on in. I'm super excited too. Like I've dedicated my life to this. I think that a lot of us do pay a lot of attention to strategy, which is very important. But the breakdown of the process, I think everything has a 80-20. I go by the Pareto principle, where it is 80% of the results come from 20% of the efforts, and strategy is 20%, but the 80% is mindset, right? To kind of glaze over it like we do, I think is doing us a disjustice, right? And to dive into it, there's so many different ways that you can go into it. When you're talking about psychology, when you're talking about emotional intelligence, when you're talking about cause and effect, and just how the world works and how you interact and communicate with your environment, it all is rooted in your own mindset, which is what you can control. I believe that when you master your mind, you master your world. So super important stuff that we get to talk about today.
Yeah, real talk. Master your mind, master your world. Yeah, I love it. Mindset really it rules everything. Like the way I see it, it doesn't really matter what's going on in the world with you, around you. It's how you see it. It's how you react to it. It's what you do. Because everything is not gonna be perfect all the time. And listen, you talking about mindset. I'm still on this book right now. Oh my gosh. The power of your subconscious mind.
It's the one.
Man,
Hmm.
all I keep doing is opening this book and reading parts of it to people. Like
Hmm.
in my coaching groups, I just keep reading pieces. And the crazy thing, so I did this thing the other day, this 3-day session, and we got to the end of day 2,
Hmm.
and I just opened up the book and I just literally opened it and I landed on something, and it was perfect. It was something that everyone needed to hear about mindset. And I don't really remember what I read at that time, but it was something to do with basically how you see things and how you react to them will determine what's going to happen next. Because we really don't know what's going to happen. We just don't. But all we could do is really focus on what we want things to be so that that could come to life.
Right, right, right. I heard this idea that they said when you change the way you see things, soon things will begin to change.
Yes.
Right, and
It's
that
in there.
falls right in line with that. That's something that you get to keep in your back pocket. Anybody listening right now, because I
It's
did, and it's helped me a lot.
It's in there. So I was actually we're reading this book in one of my groups. We're reading the book together, and that exactly what you said was what we spoke about last night.
Hmm.
And it was no way we could get around it. Like we're reading pieces of it together. We couldn't get around it. So all right. So let's talk about how mindset actually affects. I'd love to talk about how mindset affects the entrepreneur.
Hmm. Yeah, that's what we came to do.
Yeah,
That's what we came to do.
because that's who we talk to. So we're
Hmm.
both coaches. I'll maybe we should, maybe start over a little bit. So I'm Coach Tomeka James, and I am a life and business coach, and I help you to monetize your knowledge. So I help you to take what you know, package it up, and create it as a course. And that's the premise of what I do. Outside of that, I am a coach that helps you with planning, strategizing, and organizing. So all of this mindset stuff plays deeply into who I am and what I do. So if you want to introduce yourself, and then we could jump right back into this conversation.
We'll jump out, jump back in. What's going on, everybody? I'm Coach TSPice. I'm a mindset coach, and I'm on a mission to inspire and empower 1 trillion people to live a life by design instead of by default. And the key that I found to a designer lifestyle that opens up that door is self-confidence, right? So I support the people that I work with in developing a deep, meaningful relationship with themselves. And I'm currently focused on helping entrepreneurs master their mindset so they can maximize their income and their impact. And here we are.
All right. So everyone, welcome to the live. Share this out. You will want to let someone else know about what we're talking about. And today, if you guys have any questions in regards to what we're speaking about, you can feel free to click the question box and add a question. And or if you have something that's a comment about what we're discussing, feel free to just add it right to the chat. So entrepreneurship and mindset. Let's talk about how important it is and some of the things that we need to focus on to make sure that we stay on track. So what would you say is one of the things that we need to focus on to make sure we're not veering off and just really messing up?
Right. I think that, we're raised in a society that's all about doing. Just do it, get it done or whatever. And that works really well for an employee who has somebody that tells them what to do and when to show up and manage all of their things. They outsource their security, their sense of security to their employer and all of that stuff. It works really well there. But in my transition from employment to entrepreneurship, I learned that it's not enough to just do. You got to come out of a state of doing and more of a state of being, right? For example, going into my first business, I was aware. I had read a couple of books, and I was aware about the power of positive thinking and how important it was to think positively. But what I would do is I would go about my day, go about my life, just having that information in the back of my mind. And when things got negative, when things got challenging and tough, that's when I would say, okay, now's the time. Think positive, think positive, think positive. And it was always too little, too late, right? So I felt like after a while of doing that and it's not working the way I expected to, I felt like I was led up to believe in some optimistic ideal that wasn't realistic and fell flat on my face because of that. As a result, I went back to the 9 to 5 and thought that, okay, I just want it simple. I want to outsource my security and all that stuff. Again, just tell me when to be there. I'll show up, clock in, clock out. That's it. Give me a beer on the weekend. I'll be good. But I found that I was doing something so meaningless with my life that this can't be it. I can't do it. I've been the president and CEO of my company for, the past year and some change. I can't now come back and do this 9 to 5 thing. So I decided to re-enter the entrepreneurship space. And this time I learned that it's not enough to just think positively. You got to become positive. So that means I'm doing things, practicing on a daily basis to rewire my brain and not just waiting until, things hit the fan to start putting it into action. So that's what I mean when I say entrepreneurship is more about being, day in, day out, routines, systems, changing your identity, changing the way you think about yourself, the way you look at yourself, the way you treat yourself, and the way you treat other people. Everything gets to shift, and it's a major transformation that's quite difficult, I think, to do on your own, which is why it's important to connect with coaches like you and I.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I want to inform everyone, this is not an interview. We are having a conversation, but I do have some questions for Coach TSPice, okay? So don't think this is an interview. We're just talking, all right? So we're going to pretend like we're just here. We don't see you guys, even though we're watching all of your comments, just to let you know. So, all right, listen. So you just told me that you jumped in and out of entrepreneurship, and I got to ask these questions. You know why? Because, and I love it. I'm asking this because I have been an entrepreneur the whole time. In my whole life, from being a teenager, I started working when I was about 13-ish, doing hair. That was where I started. Then I did like sold all kinds of things, did all this entrepreneurship stuff. When I was 14, I ended up entering this entrepreneurship program. And they took us to get our sales tax and use number from New York, because I'm from Jersey. And you know, I live in Miami now. But they took us to go get the sales tax and use number, and I was able to start selling stuff. So I sold all kinds of stuff. Whatever they would let me buy in the wholesale district, I'm selling it. I've sold everything.
Yes, indeed.
So I did have like the summer job, because that was that one thing that they were like, oh, you know, you got to get the summer job. And then when I went to my high school, they made us do this summer job program. So I worked in a courthouse for a couple of months. But when I tell you that those were a few of the jobs I had, and I worked at Taco Bell. Oh my gosh, I haven't told anybody this. I worked there for about 2 weeks, and I worked in a grocery store for about 2 weeks, and that's it. No more regular jobs for me. So I don't really understand or how it works, the in and out of the actual job in entrepreneurship. Now, I'm going to assume, and I shouldn't assume, that you jumped out of the job and you went to entrepreneurship and you was like, I'm a man, I got to take care of my family. I got to do what I got to do. I better get back over here and get in this job and do what I got to do until I'm fully ready. Now, is that true or not, before I go any further?
Nah, it wasn't. No? It was more, it was more of a retreat. I was still young, which is, I think, a major benefit of exploring different things like in your 20s. Because, yeah, it's not so much on the line. Now, it is. Now, 100% is that energy. It's like, ain't no way I'm going to put myself in a position where I need to get a job, right? Or need to be thinking about that. But back then, no, I was just like, this is a lot. You know, I have to change my whole life, and I had to move away. I moved from Jersey, because I'm from Jersey too. Moved to Jersey.
You didn't tell me. Did you tell me that?
I think we talked about it. You was in Newark. I lived in Newark for a little bit.
Oh,
I was in Plainfield. Yup.
All right.
So yeah, so I moved to Idaho, and after that, I was just drained. But after having that experience, you can't unsee entrepreneurship. You can't unlearn it.
Right.
It was difficult.
And that's how I feel about it too. And thus my mindset, it is such that this is what I do. Like, this is who I am. Like, I fully accept this is who I am, an entrepreneur at heart. If something isn't working, the question is, well, what is gonna work? Or the question for me is like, okay, so why didn't that work? And what else do I need to do? Like, I'm constantly digging through and finding where are the holes for myself before I even have to go to anyone else. What else is it that I'm missing? What do I need to literally like look at and beef up? What do I need to learn? So that's how my mindset works, because I'm just an entrepreneur at heart. Now, I know some people who are watching us are in different positions in life, different positions in business, and I don't know how everybody sees this, but for me, I'm like, I got to do it. So my mindset is, okay, what else am I doing? What are we doing here today? But I love how you spoke about how you got to the point where you said, I can't wait until I get to that point. Kind of like the point of no return. I can't wait till I get there. I have to constantly do something. And I think that's something that people need to hear. That's a mindset shift that you created for yourself.
Right. Yeah, the point of no return is powerful. I think that it plays out when you're talking about overcoming fear, right? A lot of us, we want to get rid of the fear before we do the thing. But for me, when I went skydiving the first time, I'm not like a thrill seeker or anything like that. But once I paid for it, I'm jumping out that plane. Like, that's the point of return for me, no return for me. Because where I'm from, we don't waste money, you know?
Yes.
So my mind had just shifted. I paid for it. I'm committed. I'm in. And it got a lot scarier after that. But I was already there. I was dressed. You know, there's I guess, a cousin idea or a relative idea. It's the sunken cost fallacy, to where if you go so far, like if you buy the movie ticket, you buy the popcorn, you buy all the stuff, you drive to the movie theater, you get to the theater and you realize that the movie sucks. A lot of us would just stick through it, right? Stick through it to the end because we've already come so far. I think the same way works in reverse. Like if you're afraid to do something, just worry about getting to that point of no return and you'll stick through it. You'll stick to you got to do it afraid. You can't get rid of the fear until you do it and look back and it's like, what was I afraid of? Right? So that is powerful. Has that ever come up for you? Anything like that?
When you talk about like the movie, yeah, it's crazy because I would just finish watching the movie, but I don't know if that applies to my life where I'm just gonna keep going through something. So it's weird because I get what you're saying with the analogy. Now, when I think about how, let me see what I could think of. When I think about how I was married, right? And yeah, I'm married, I committed to this, but there was this point where it wasn't making sense anymore. So I couldn't just sit there and just say, oh, I'm just going to sit here. So what I ended up doing was, okay, let's do all of the things to see if it's going to continue to work or not. And we need to assess where we are. And then we did counseling, and we did counseling for a long time, longer than we probably should. And then we got to the point where that was it, right? That's one thing I think of. Another one I think of is I owned a business and I ended up getting a coach. And listen, y'all need to hear this story because you if you want to know why you need a coach, this story is going to help you. I was operating a business that was doing well. I got a coach because I wanted to do better. So the coach asked me a question, what do you really want? And I kept saying, I want to be wealthy. And the coach said, let me stop you and ask you exactly what wealthy means. And when they asked me the question, I had to give a number. Had never had a number. When I gave the number I gave was this big and my business was like here. So we're doing well. But I said, I can't stay in this because this is where I decided that I want to be. So we talking mindset and everything right now. My mind told me that logically you want this and you here. It's going to take you 5 years to get there. We can't stay here. So I had to close the business and people couldn't understand why I closed it. But my mindset wouldn't allow me to wake up every day knowing that there's something else that I'm going for that's not going to work in this situation. I had to shut it down, regroup, and then I moved my business to a better location where the clients were going to come in and, give the better tips and they're going to pay the money easy. I had to look at that. So mindset is everything. And if I wasn't, conscious of all these things, I wouldn't be able to do stuff like that.
Right.
I would have stayed there.
It takes a lot of courage to pivot like that. And that's exactly what the sunken cost fallacy is all about. It's just because I've committed so much, because I've put so much time, energy, and money into this so far, then I need to stay the course. And I think that is out of integrity because now you're in marriages that no longer serve you. You're working for jobs that no longer fulfill you. They feel meaningless and they're sucking the soul out of you just because you feel obligated. So one of my biggest things, my recent mindset shifts is inspiration over obligation. I tend to question things that I feel obligated to, and I'll sit here and do nothing, right, until I feel inspired to move, and that's scary. It's scary as hell because I think a lot of us, we don't believe that inspiration just magically falls out of the sky, but I believe that I'm called to do something. I'm called to create something, right? But I'm not called to force it. I'm called to be pulled towards it and to be excited about it.
Yeah. That's so true because I think some people are walking around just doing anything. That's what it is to me. You're just walking around doing anything just because things are present and you're just doing whatever. And I can't so when you speak about inspiration, I'm inspired by a lot of things as well. And when I get inspired, I'm able to move. And I love that whole thing. And that's what leads me to be who I am because I understand that sometimes people need inspiration. And when they get the inspiration, they're able to see, okay, I need to take some action based upon me feeling like I want to move now. So yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah.
And the thing is, what I'm learning more and more is that not action, but busyness is the enemy of inspiration. Just being busy, and our jobs do a really good job at keeping us busy, right? So we don't ever have the space or the ample enough time to kind of explore different ideas. Where do we want to be? A lot of people that I work with, I'm asking basic questions like, describe for me what your life, you want your life to look like. And
Mm-hmm.
you'd be surprised, like a lot of people are like, I've never thought about that before. I never thought about what I wanted. We spend our lives only thinking about what we can get, what's in our reach, what's around.
Mm.
And the shift is that whatever you want is available in abundance, or like opportunities are available in abundance. The question isn't what can you get, the question is what do you want.
Right, right. Oh my gosh. Um, I can't, so you know, when we work with our clients, we can't say who is who, but we can talk about the experiences, right? And most recently, I had an experience with with a client, and I said, think about, tell me where you want to go, exactly where you want to go. We're talking mindset, guys, just in case you're just joining. What are we discussing? Mindset makeover. So I said, what is it that you really want? And the person was saying, I don't know. So one of the things I was expressing to them is, it is okay that you don't know. However, we have to make a decision on something, because until we make a choice, even if it's the right or the wrong choice or one that we're unsure of or not, you have to make a choice. Because until you make a choice, you're still sitting here and like this, thinking about all 5 different things. So make a choice right now. And then I want you to visualize that. And it was so hard for them to make a choice. And anyone who's listening, this may be you. And this is the mindset stuff. When you're working by yourself and dealing with this by yourself, you keep saying, I don't know. And you'll say, I don't know for the next 6 months until someone halts you and says, hey, make a choice now. So anyway, it took about 5 minutes to get this person to literally make a choice, because I asked them the question, and what they said to me was, well, it could be this or this. And I said, wait, we're still talking this or this. Just make a choice. I said, guess what? After you make your choice, if you want to change it, you can. I just want you to make a choice now. Finally, they made a choice. And I said, well, tell me, what does that look like? This is mindset stuff, y'all. When they finally told me what that looks like a little bit, the expression over their face was like they couldn't even believe it, because they had been so busy looking at all the things and they never stopped to look at one thing. And when they finally did, they could move a little further, even though they still felt unsure. So I just wanted to share that experience that I had with one of my clients. And it was beautiful to watch. And they finally felt like they were getting somewhere, because they were able to make a choice, even though they still weren't sure.
Right, right. The power of your decision. I was listening, I think Will Smith, he said, you know, when you are courageous enough to decide, then the universe gets out of your way and conspires to make that thing happen for you. But if you're not courageous enough to make that choice, right, that decision, then you'll be stuck in the fog forever. Another thing I heard from somebody else, right, who was talking about the actual word decide, right? He compared it to, you know, homicide. When you commit a homicide, you kill somebody else. When you commit a genocide, you're killing a bunch of people, right? When you commit suicide, you're killing yourself. But when you decide, you kill off all of the options and make it happen.
Yes.
Good
Yes.
Lord. Yeah,
Okay.
and that
Elegant.
clarity is powerful. But it's I think it's scary because we kind of we feel like we're going to be missing out on something. So fear of missing out, fear of making the wrong decision. And I think to kind of alleviate that fear, you got to realize that there's no such thing as the wrong decision. Like your life is going to happen anyway. Things are going to change anyway. The choice that you're making is really the choice of being proactive or reactive. Either you're going to happen to your life or your life is going to happen to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that kind of like levels out, you know, the scale between A and B, because if you pick A, you'll never know how B would have turned out anyway. Could have been great, could have been terrible. You picked A. Same thing if you pick B. You never know how the other option is going to turn out. So just pick one. And maybe later on down the line, you know, you never know what place you're going to be in. Maybe you could come back and do B.
That's what I
You
was
know?
trying to tell the lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I was trying to tell the lady. Like, wait, just pick something. Like,
Don't
but I think it's
don't think that you should be so in control that you lose control. I think.
that is very true because, yeah, yeah, it's like you can't be that controlling. And
Mm,
at the end of the day, even when you think you have control, you do to some degree, but you don't know what was already written. You
mm,
don't know that. You know, you
mm,
just over
yeah.
here trying to complicate something that's already written out anyway. just
Yeah.
just do something
Yeah.
already.
It's a
Yeah.
roll of the dice regardless.
But
Nothing is
that's what I would
guaranteed.
rather do.
Mm.
He says a roll of the dice.
Yeah, nothing is guaranteed. Everything is forever changing, and we get to dance and play in it. You know, we get to choose to have fun and to go where our heart, you know, drives us. And wherever our attention goes, our energy flows, and we shouldn't resist that. I don't think. We should, you know, see it through.
Yeah, and I love that statement. I've always loved that when where your attention goes, the energy flows. And that is another thing that we have to look at when it comes to making a decision. Because if you haven't made a decision, your energy literally is all over the place. So we're talking about where your attention goes, your energy flows. But if there is no attention on any one thing, you literally split your energy up all over the place. And we don't really have that much energy to use in the first place. So directing it towards something and making that at 100, 100% is so much better than splitting yourself up 20, 30, and 40 over here. It just won't make enough sense. It doesn't.
Right.
So I think that making choices is tough, and we can admit that that's the truth. However, making that choice allows you to move. It allows you to create action because when we don't decide, we're sitting still. We can't move forward. We can't have something else. You just can't have any. You're just stuck.
Right. It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it really is. It really is.
Heartbreaking to be stuck. But the good news is that the power is in our hands, and everything could change with just a simple, you know, paradigm shift. You know, so showing up to lives like these, going to seminars, tapping into YouTube University, buying courses. I think a lot of the times we do expect something to just come and change everything all at once. But what I've learned is in reality, you come on a live like this, it could just be one thing somebody says, a 3% shift in your mindset that ends up changing everything like a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what keeps me, you know, showing up, keeps me learning, and keeps me networking. I love how we connected. You know, I saw one of your videos and I'm like, immediately, like, that's alignment. You know, we have to talk. And here we are now on live. And I hope that we're providing a tremendous amount of value for anybody listening. You know, anybody that might be feeling stuck or afraid to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think through our stories and through us just having this conversation definitely should be helpful to someone because we don't come to you as perfect people. We've had to make choices along the way. But in a lot of cases, we made some pretty darn good decisions, and we can share with you how we've done those things. And I, a little while ago, shared 2 stories about me having to make those hard decisions. And when I say they're hard decisions, they really are. It's not easy to shut a business down. And that business that I was talking about, there were about 12 staff members that were there.
Mm,
I really put a lot into it. I remember opening the place based on meeting this one lady, and it was just like it felt like it was a miracle business when I ended up opening it. Let me tell the story real quick. I was as a stylist, I was doing a competition, and there were 3 people that they selected as the winners, but most of the audience really, and we did feel like we should have at least placed first, second, well, at least second or third, and they gave us a consolation prize. literally, they gave us like a pack of CDs and some music and some other stuff. And some of the people on my team, they threw it out the window. Then they were doing their own thing. We were in the hotel, they threw it out the window. We were like on like 13th, 12th, 14th floor or something like that. They threw it out the window. Anyway, when the whole thing was over, I went downstairs and I ended up meeting a lady who knew someone who had a salon, and I was looking for a new location. So when I had this conversation, because I was pissed off that we didn't win, and I just came downstairs to walk, and it felt like, oh my gosh, I'm here. And I'm here because of a loss. But I'm talking to this lady about what I want in life. And she shows up with, I know someone who has a location that you can actually talk to them, and you probably can start your business there. And I did. It was just a connection out of something that seemed to be bad. I called up the people she told me to call, and I set up a meeting. And when I tell you, within a few days, I was a salon owner. Okay? Beautiful, right? So when we think that things are going so wrong and everything is all messed up, things are happening just the way they were supposed to happen. Because if I was all settled and we were happy with the decision that we were the winners or whatever, we would have been up there celebrating. But I was like, no, this is crazy. I just need to go take a walk. And I run into this lady. It was beautiful. So I say that we are where we are supposed to be at all times, and everything happens for a reason. And the more that we mindset, the more that we shift our minds to understand that everything that's going on is how it should be. Everyone we encounter is who we're supposed to meet. Every bad thing that you think was bad was really meant for your good. Like, can we start looking at things like this? And I just knew I needed to walk. And I was like, I'm not going to just sit still. And it was beautiful.
That is beautiful. I love that. I love that, because we have so many experiences just like that, where it's like, what are the odds, right? But I from being aware of what you just shared, right, I tend to think of that like with every situation, and every situation gets to become special because of that. Because when you think of all of the million, bazillion, gajillion ways that each moment of your life could have went, but it went the one way that it did go, you get to appreciate that one way, because it's really improbable, right? But it happens for a reason. So you get to decide whether it's good or bad, right? And I think that once you start installing a belief that everything works for your favor, then your RAS, your reticular activation system, starts looking for evidence for why that's true, right? And once you get your brain kicked into gear and going, in a certain direction, you have habitual thoughts and habitual beliefs and habits that result from it. Life becomes a really, really fun experience.
It does.
Everything gets to be an adventure.
And it's crazy. So I started telling that story just now because I felt like that was such a divine opportunity at that time. And someone said divine, that's why I use that word, that I met the lady to get the business. When I got to the point where I was ready to close it, I felt like I don't think I should, because this was so divine. I was supposed to be here. But guess what else? My mindset tells me, and I understand, I'm not supposed to stay everywhere to where I am. You're meant to be where you are for whatever amount of time, and we don't know what that looks like. But when I got to the point where she asked me, what do you really want? And I realized that the location of my business at the time was sort of in the hood, okay? We got robbed a couple of times and all that. Well, I realized that I was meant to be there for a short period of time, for me to grow who I was as a beauty professional, to grow my business and to understand business, to learn more about it. Because the next step for me was, later on down the line, was coaching other people to run their businesses. So I had to learn a lot of lessons and go through a lot of different things, and do those drastic things, go to drastic measures to run the business of my dreams. And sometimes we think where we are, we're just supposed to stay. And I just realized that, no, I did my time here. I did my time here, and I was like, no, is there something else for me? So I shut the thing down, took the last bit of money that, because I was doing very well. I took the last bit of money that was in the business, and I actually used it to relocate. A piece of this story, I moved my business into my home. So I actually got a contractor to do the whole bottom floor of my home over to create a business in my house so that I could work from home. And I stayed there for some time. And then I ended up moving to the next location with my business. So we just have to keep making decisions. But my mindset, it was, there's another level for you. And if you stay where you are, as well as things are going, you won't reach it. And we have to look at like numbers. We have to look at real numbers. Numbers don't lie.
Not even for a second.
No. So anyway, yeah.
It sounds like you got to give up the good to get the great.
Yes,
Got to give up the
absolutely.
great to get phenomenal too. Golly. It's funny how the progression of the conversation that we're having is going, because I'm noticing, like in my book, Have the Guts to Follow Your Guts. It's a 9-chapter compilation of my life's experience with jumping out of my comfort zone, right? The 2nd through 3rd chapter, right? The 2nd chapter is Have the Guts to Decide. That's what we talked about. The 3rd chapter is Have the Guts to Take the Opportunity, and that's what you did. Then the 4th chapter is Have the Guts to Leave the Opportunity. So we're on the same page. You already know. Like, some things are really good for you in the beginning, and it's miraculous, and it does a lot of good in your life, but it comes to a point where it's like you said, there's another level, there's something else, and you gotta then have the courage again to leave what isn't serving you, even if it's good.
That is good. Are you guys listening? I saw some hearts, and you guys were pumping some hearts on the side. So I know that you're here and you just heard what he just said. Have the guts to leave the opportunity. Man, sometimes you're holding on to something so long and you don't understand that you're holding so tight to that one thing that you're keeping yourself away from your next level of greatness. Next story for me. I am a life and business coach currently, but I was a cosmetologist for most of my life. And I was a great one, a magnificent, fantastic, amazing stylist and salon owner. But one day I woke up and I realized that where I was, it was no longer meant for me to stay there. I did a lot in the beauty industry, and I realized that no more. I can't be here. As much as I've done and achieved and all of these things, and it was hard. But where I am right now, oh, you can't take this away. Nobody can make me do their hair. You cannot. I don't even want to do my own hair.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But I'd hate to make it seem easy. You know, it's not easy, but it is worth it, right? And as entrepreneurs, we get to do the things that most people won't, so that we could live like most people can't.
That's right.
So I'm proud of you.
Thank you so much. And because of being able to make those kind of choices, I make those same kind of choices all over the place. Thus, me leaving New Jersey and moving all the way to Florida, 1,100 miles away. I have the mindset at this point that there is no holding on to things. Now, I'm not just letting stuff go left and right. We're not doing that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying, oh, you just walk away from everything. No, that's not the point. The point is to evaluate where you are and make a choice on what is next for you and go for it based upon whatever it is that you're experiencing, or based upon whatever you know that you need to do next. But to stay in one spot is not something that serves me for anything. You know, if I'm even, even you were talking about the movie earlier, right? Like going into the movie and you just watch the movie to the end and it's no good. Well, what about like those times when you go into a restaurant? And I remember walking to a restaurant with someone one time. The restaurant was funky, okay? When you walked in, you just smelled it, but we were so hungry that we almost stayed there. We were walking, and I remember it was like a beach type environment, and it was like, okay, we got to get food because we're starving. And finally, a place is open, and there seems to be somebody back there serving food. but this place is funky. So now we got to make a choice. Do we stay here just because this is the first place out of all the places that we can get food? And we stood there for a few seconds, made a choice like, it's too funky in here. We're out. We gotta go. No, we're not staying here. So it's a choice. It's a choice. And just because something is in front of you, it doesn't mean that that's the choice. And mindset has to tell you, you know what? There is a better choice. I just have to find it. I have to locate it. I have to know that I got enough strength, enough wisdom, and I got enough of what I need to go and find what it is that I really want. And that translates into life. I'm talking about a stinky restaurant right now, and I don't like being hungry.
Right. You know what I found is very triggering to say out loud? That shouldn't be. I don't think it should be. The thing that I'll say on social media is that you always have a choice, right? And when I realized that myself, it was so powerful that even though we feel like we have to be in this stinky restaurant or this job that pays the bills or this relationship because we don't want to start all over, that's a choice, right? Even if you're choosing to stay in a job that you hate because you want to pay your bills, you're choosing to do it because you like having your bills paid. Now, once you get there, then you can realize, okay, maybe there's another way to pay my bills because I'm not at my job because I have to be. I'm at my job because I like having my bills paid. That's the part that I want to keep. Everything else is interchangeable. Same thing with relationships. And a lot of people, they want to defend that, hands in the air, I don't have a choice type of mentality because I guess it forces them to look at their decision-making process, their level of comfortability, their level of courage to do what it takes to actually have the life that they deserve. And a lot of people don't like being confronted with that. So I guess the point that we can take away from that is just, even if you don't see the choice, right? Just remind yourself that everything is a choice. In most cases, 99% of the cases. I hope nobody's chaining you up in their basement. Your choices may be limited there. But even in the most strenuous situations, we have some type of choice, some type of decision we can make. And I don't know how deep we could get into it, but it gets real deep. Because Kanye, when he said what he said a couple years back, everybody was up in arms. And I think that there's multiple ways to think about it, for real. And it's important because these perceptions either are going to create our freedom or they're going to create our slavitude, if that's a word. But I tend to believe that we always have a choice in the matter, so that even if we're making a choice that's not ideal, we don't give away our power in feeling like we're optionless. You have options. You just don't like the other options.
Yeah.
That part.
It's crazy because just because you don't like the options don't mean that you just sit still once again. There's always another choice. And the thing is, we have to find the other choice. Or sometimes we need to make a new route for ourselves. I think because my mindset tells me there is a better way. No matter what I'm faced with, there's something else. There's something else that I have not understood yet. There's something that I don't know. There's something that is missing. Where is it? What is it? Who do I need to know? Where do I need to go? What do I need to acquire? There's a gap between where I am and where I'm supposed to be. Even if it doesn't look good and doesn't feel good, there's something else. So for me, I wake up and I'm like, no, what is it? And I'm constantly looking for it. I think the problem for some folks is some just stop. Some stop looking. Some just say, forget it too fast. And it's not okay. If you guys are listening, it is not okay to just say, forget it all the time. It's not.
No, that's what happens when we get used to the word can't. Because can is a dangerous word. Can is a dangerous word because it shuts your brain off, right? If you just hold the belief that I can, even if you don't know how, your brain will still ask the question, well, how do we do this? What is the thing that I'm missing? We can go and on a search of this information or that shift that needs to be made to close the gap. But once you say I can't, brain accepts it immediately, stops looking.
So
That's
people,
your limitation.
erase can't. It doesn't serve anyone. I don't even, it doesn't serve anyone anywhere, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
No, it really doesn't. Mm-mm.
Not in any situation.
So what are some words? Let's talk about some words. Mindset shifting. What words should be removed? So we just spoke about can't and trying. No, we're not
Trying,
doing
no.
it.
We get
We
to
are not
do,
doing
and better yet,
trying.
we get to be. We're being, I am, I'm doing, I'm achieving.
I
We get
will.
to switch out. We get to switch out. I have to. We get to switch out. I have to for I get to. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I get to.
Inspirational for obligation.
Oh, there was a book. I don't remember because I've read so many books. There was a book that was in the book, and it is a mindset shift that I get to, because it makes you feel like I deserve it,
Mm-hmm.
and I definitely should have this. I
Right.
get to do this. It's like I just got a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. It changes your obligations to opportunities, I think. Right. You start looking at things differently. Language is powerful for that, right? Because our subconscious mind just associates different things with different ideas. And just saying a certain thing just unlocks a whole nother image in our mind, which is going to trigger an emotion, which energy and motion triggers our actions and how we interact with the things and interact with people,
Mm-hmm.
which is going to change how they interact with us, which shifts the results, and that changes your entire life. So just shifting a word, I believe that the words that you speak are the house that you live in, right? So I'm very particular with the words that I talk about. And when I was young, right, they was like, oh, he's always so literal, like, you know what I mean. I was like, but that's not what you said.
You said it. You said it, not me.
Right. And I would feel a little outcasted by that. I feel a little corny. Oh, why I gotta be so literal? I don't think over the top literal or anything like that. Like I speak in slang and all that stuff. But as an adult, I'm looking around, and even in my own personal situations, how miscommunications happen because people never learn how to say what they mean. Right. And it's something so slight, something that you just didn't say or you used the wrong word for. And it's like, did you mean that? Because I kind of, and then we rely on people to assume sometimes.
You getting some
You know?
congratulations on that new baby.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And we're going to teach her. We're going to teach her to say what you mean, to know the word, to have. I used to get shamed. I guess I'll go with shamed for having a vocabulary. Why you gotta use all these big words and stuff like that? Like dumb it down. And I felt some shame in it for a hot second, but I'm like, don't be mad at me because I know words. Sometimes words are specifically what I want to say. You know
Uh,
what I'm saying?
More people have to be more mindful of what they say because of a person like yourself and myself who does take things literally. Like, if you tell me you're going to be here at 4 o'clock, why would I think that you're going to be here at 4:30 or 6 o'clock? You said 4 o'clock. You said I will be there. I didn't put those words in your mouth. So I'm going to take it for what you said.
Mm-hmm.
When you use these other words, I'm understanding where you stand in life. Because when
Mm-hmm.
people are saying certain things, it tells how they think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So no, we're not calling everybody out on every single word that they say.
Mm-hmm.
As a coach, when I'm in a session with someone, I get to do that to assist them in that space. But no, we're not walking around in the world telling everyone, oh, wait, you said that word? No, take that back. No, we're not doing that every single moment. But I do appreciate the fact that there are times when, as a coach, I'm in a position to help someone to tweak the things that they're doing so that they're a better person tomorrow. And a lot of things that I say being a coach is that I'm not here to give you the answer. I'm here to assist with altering your life so that you know how to function in my absence. So if I gave you all the answers, you would just get them right now, and you wouldn't know how to do what you need to do, on your own. So yeah, just love it. Say what you
Right.
mean, mean what you say.
That's a fact. Because I think, as entrepreneurs, we're big on being able to improve, and improvement requires measurement, right? So in order to measure things, we need a standard of measurement. We need an understanding, a language, right? That English was already created. We don't need to create a new language. We just need to learn this one. That way we can, what was I saying? Where was my train of thought going? That way we can have a standard by which we can gauge what integrity is, right? Say what you mean, and do it and follow through. If you did, great, then you're in integrity. But if you're not in integrity, we can address that. But if we're relying on wishy-washy assumptions, then it's harder to gauge whether we're in integrity or not,
Mm,
and therefore, improve or make shifts and changes. um,
mm, yeah.
One of the things that I think we could stop saying, let me know if you agree, is I want.
Mm,
I want, right? And the reason I say that is because subconsciously you say I want, your brain goes, I do not have, right? And if you're operating from a space of do not have, that's a space of lack. And you'll keep being in that space of I do not have until you say I have, I am this, or I am achieving, or I'm working towards, or whatever the case is. But if you say I want, you're also saying in the background, and there's a lot of other stuff, other words, phrases that we say that have like the opposite meaning that coincide with it, that we kind of internalize subconsciously. I want is something that I
mm.
get rid of.
Yeah, I can feel that. The only thing I would say about it is getting a person closer instead of them saying straight up saying they don't have it, or they can't have it, or they won't have it. So want gets them a little closer. However, what you said makes a lot of sense because I understand exactly what you're talking about. I understand that it does represent that it's not present.
Mhm.
So yeah, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
Pretty cool.
levels to this thing. It's
Yeah,
levels to this thing.
definitely. Um, so you're NLP certified. Tell us
NLP.
something in that space that people need to know about mindset.
My favorite thing in NLP is being able to challenge long held, strongly held beliefs, right? Um, I used to believe that because of where I lived, as a coach, that I wasn't going to be credible because I lived in a house near the highway, so there was always cars going by. There was a lot of fireworks, so it wasn't ideal, right? I'll say it like that.
Mm,
That because my life situation was a certain way that I didn't find ideal, that I didn't have anything to offer, right? And during my NLP training, I got to challenge that thought, right? I've written a book that has helped so many people, right? Because my experiences were still valuable. Like there's still somebody that is just a few steps behind where I was, right? I may have been living in this house, but I was also 100% entrepreneur, which is something that other people, aspire to. I may have been living in this house, but I'd also moved over 2,000 miles away from my hometown a couple times, right? I've also made more money than a lot of people have ever made before. And it was the imposter syndrome that was kind of taking over and preventing me from fully showing up. I mean, granted, I did find a way, right? And I made it through it. I still made my content. I still, brought on coaching clients, and I still produced results for them. But still, one of the thoughts in the back of my head was that, this ain't it. I can't show off my entire house. I can't record a video over here or do this or do that or have anybody over or anything like that because I'm going to look like a fraud, you know?
mm,
And in our sessions, we actually got to work with one another. So, like, for example, somebody will say, well, I can't be successful because nobody likes me. And my response would be, how do you know that? And by pulling out evidence for our story, we either find that the evidence is shoddy, It's not strong. It's not definitive, or it just doesn't exist. And they'll say, oh, I don't know. I just always felt that way. And now we're getting closer to the solution, right? Which is, this is just an idea. This is a definition that I've assigned to an experience that I'm having in my life that doesn't really hold any weight. And that just opens us up to say, well, what if you didn't have that belief? What would your life look like? How would you feel? What would you do? What is possible for you? And I'm like, wow, I never thought about that. Well, I guess if I didn't believe that, then I would have more friends. If I had more friends, then I'd be happier. Maybe I could make more business connections, and I'd find somebody that really found value in what I offered. And just contemplating, just imagining it for a second does so much to change your attitude and change, your personality and how you're going to interact with a certain thing, that I love how simple, something so simple can make such a huge difference. That's my favorite part. But there's so many different facets to NLP that kind of does the same thing. Like we have anchoring, where we want to shift our attitude about
Before you talk about anchoring, I wanted to
Okay.
say something about what you just said, because I know you're about to go deep. The other way of speaking about what you just said is, who told you that? Like you said, what did you say? What was the statement you made?
I said, how do you know that?
How do you know that? How do you know that? And who told you that? Like, because there are things that people have heard throughout their lives, and something was embedded in them, and it was a person who said something and changed the trajectory of their life because they heard something with their ears that's not necessarily true.
All right.
And sometimes it's a person, and we got to go back to who that person was, and then now it gets deep. Like, well, are they really a credible person? Now you remember who said that to you. Now you see where they're living and how they're living. Are you still gonna believe what they said to you?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Back to what you were saying. Anchoring. Okay.
So
Anchoring.
I might dive into that a little bit more, because it's crazy that we take on these beliefs and we hold them for so long, and the more we replay them, the stronger they get. And by respecting someone's worldview, I think a lot of us, we mean well, right, with our family and friends, and they're in pain and we just want to fix them right away. So they're like, oh no, you're not this, you're not that, you're not ugly, you're not broke. You know what I'm saying? And we just try to just disregard their experience and replace it with a positive one. That's along the lines of toxic positivity. But in NLP, I learned to meet people where they are and assume that what they're saying is true. But we get to be curious about how it's true, why it's true. And then by unraveling that belief, we get to uncover what is possible, right? So that's cool. And I was just going to briefly say, like, there's just many different techniques when you dive into NLP to kind of achieve, the same results, which is a paradigm shift. And anchoring is just when you made an association with the attitude about one thing. Like for us, it was food, right? They're like, what's a food that you want to stop eating so much? And mine was cheeseburgers, right? And so they say, okay, now think about a food or a drink or anything that you hate, that you can't, like, it just makes you sick to your stomach. For me, it was Everclear, right? So through the process, we get to connect the two and make a connection. So anytime I see or think about a cheeseburger, I'm also thinking about Everclear, and that, ruins my appetite. And we just do things on our hands and all that stuff. I'm not going to dive too deep into it, but there's just so many different, methods and ways that we can change our minds and therefore change our world.
Yeah, and that's so true, because I remember a point in time after I had my last child, and I was like, this weight, no, this ain't, this is not hitting. No, we are not doing this, right? So I had to figure out how, this was years ago, because the boy is 20 years old, okay? So I had to figure out, how can I actually lose this weight and be disgusted with a lot of the things that I was actually eating that I knew weren't good for me. And I did exactly that. And it was certain things that I was snacking on. I was like, I gotta get disgusted totally with these things, to the point where I do not want them under any circumstances. And I did exactly that. So it's very true. Very true. Bye, Tamara. Thank you for staying and hanging out with us. Yes, you know, you can come back. The live will still be here. So yeah. Was that Tamara that had a question? I think she's leaving, but how do you get to the depth of scratching the surface for clients to serve that need? That's her question. How do you get to the depth of scratching the surface for clients to serve that need?
I think what she means going beneath the surface.
Probably. Tamara, is that what you're asking? Let us know so he can answer you. But this
I
was the
think
question, right?
if I can assume that that's what she means, I think that
Oh,
we
yeah.
underestimate the power of questions, like to the max. Like questions are powerful in any situation when you're communicating with somebody. Get curious. Don't think that you know everything, and we always trying to tell somebody something. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem is when you make a statement, right? You put the other person in a position they're either going to accept or reject what you have to say,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they very well might reject it depending on the nature of the conversation. If you're an argument, it doesn't matter how logical you are. If they're in an emotional state, you make a statement, they're going to reject it automatically. But if you ask them a question, you're inviting them to contemplate something, to actually think about something, to dig for an answer. It's not so hard to just put up a wall on a question, right? And as a coach, when you know that there's a destination that is available for them, right? You don't know if it's right for them or not. I'm not going to claim to know what is the perfect situation for any one person, but we can try it out with leading questions.
Mm-hmm.
What would happen if you thought about this, or if you felt this way, or what can happen? And then you get to see how you see their face light up.
Mm-hmm.
See the shine. Oh wow, that feels really great in here. Okay, cool. Go towards that feeling. Do things that bring about that feeling. I think it's a shame, right? It's a shame that we just don't get the luxury sometimes, because we're always go go go. We're always in survival mode, to just sit and feel good feelings. Like, it costs you nothing. Think happy thoughts and feel good feelings, and that way you can kind of put yourself in momentum towards it. But we never get that. Step one is just imagining it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was doing those exercises with the ladies that was in this. I did this thing called Fix My Life over the last 3 days, and yeah, you have excellent listening skills to do what you do. Yeah, we do have to have excellent listening skills as coaches. If you guys are watching us because you intend to be a coach, these are some of the things that what we're talking about are the things that we need, that we do. These are the things that we do. And these are the things that they were experiencing. So Tamara was in the session from yesterday and the day before. And I don't know if Angel is still here, but I had Angel to close her eyes while she was in the session with all of us and to imagine a particular thing. And even with her eyes closed, we could just see the expression on her face. I sent her to visit a certain place. Fix my life, yes. I sent her to visit a certain place because there was something that she wanted that she had not experienced yet, and she was not able to move herself to that space because of a lot of different things. But I sent her there visually, like to just think about it before she actually achieved it. And I asked her, well, what are you feeling? How is it going? And she was enjoying that new space. And that's the way to help her to get there, because if we don't go there and imagine it and see it, visualize it, sometimes it's really hard because we just let life get in the way. But when you get that feeling, like you said, that good feeling, it's like I felt this. It's kind of like I can't unfeel this. Just like you
Right.
can't unsee some things. I
Right.
can't unfeel this. Like I feel it. I want. And the question is that what you want? Do you really want to continue to have that feeling that you're having right now? And the
Mm-hmm.
answer, and once they say yes, okay, it's go time. Let's go.
You in the building.
Let's go. There's no stopping this. Yeah.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
yep. Yeah, it was beautiful the last 3 days. I mean, personally, I'll do these things anyway on other occasions, but this one is so fresh that I'm talking about it a lot. Yet she's still here. She's still here. I don't know, Angel, if you can say how that was for you. She said felt great. Okay, she was on it. Felt great. And you know, like I said, I'm not gonna say what we were talking about, but there was something that she wanted. They were all there because they wanted something else in life, and my job was to help them to figure out what they wanted, some things that they couldn't see. You said something a moment ago. We don't stop to take enough time to stop moving to actually realize what we really want, because we're moving so much, just doing what we do, that we don't have time to dream and have those good feelings and really recognize what it would really be like if we were to move in that direction. And instead, what we do is we just say, oh, I don't know if that's possible. I'm not really sure how. And everybody worries about the how first. That's not it.
Right.
What's your take on worrying about the how at the beginning?
It's not the how, right? It's not the how. You're not gonna know how until you start doing it, right? So the first thing you want to focus on is the what. What is it that you're gonna create? And then you don't even get to the how. Then you got to go to the why. And guess what? When you go to the why, you're gonna repeat why 7 more times,
Yeah.
right? That's an activity that I do, an exercise that I do with my clients. Is that what do you want to achieve? Why is that important? Why is that important? Why do you want that? Why is that important? I'm talking literally several times, right? Why? Because the why is what's going to pull you through all the ups and downs and keep you motivated, right? And if your why isn't big enough, it's easy to give up on. But if you have a goal like, hey, I'm going to change 1 million lives, that means that if you stop, you quit, you slow down, you turn the other way, that's 1 million lives that don't get to be impacted by you. And that might be too big for you, too large for you to turn your back on. Right? Or whatever your why is. My children's children, I'm creating generational wealth. You don't want to be putting yourself in a position where generations from now have to experience the same challenges you went through just because you decided that this was too hard, or whatever the case is. Because it's gonna take a transformation. That's guaranteed. That's guaranteed. Then when we get there, then we can start talking about the how. And the how is just doing it, right? Just taking step 1, and step 2 will open to you. When you take step 2, 3, and 4 might open up to you. And then from there, you're not going to get steps 1 through 10 all up front. So that's when faith and courage come into play, right? Confidence comes into play. First we get clear, then we get consistent, then we get courageous. And that's how we do it. That's the method.
Clear, consistent, courageous. Yeah, you do get that courage once you're clear on what you need to do. And I talk about that a lot in regards to the introvert. More people than not consider themselves to be introverts. And it's the person that feels like they're not really seen. They just don't really know how to really press forward because so many other people are so much more vocal than them, and they begin to shrink. But one thing that I realized about the introvert is that an introvert with directions and understanding what they need to do, they will do it because they have clear, concise directions on what to do. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna follow these instructions. I'm not going to think about doing it. I'm gonna think about the instructions. And that is how that introvert actually gets to move. So if you are considerably the introvert, you need some directions. You need clarity on what you need to do. And now that you know what you need to do, now you get to work, and it's just like you're just moving. And the action provides you with more courage. Now you feel good about what you're doing because you did it. You didn't think about it, you just acted. And now you know that because you just acted, you can do it again. You just need a little bit of proof that it's possible. And then you get to the next step. And that's it. It's like, it's so simple. Oh my God.
It's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. It's definitely simple. It's a shame that it's not easy, but I think the hardest part is just becoming that person. Like, it's the transformation of who you are and what you're used to. We're used to doing things a certain way. So people, they assume that because they haven't done it, that it's super complicated, that you got to go through all of these steps and go to college for 12 years to figure this out, when really it's just literally getting over yourself and taking that action. At the same time, I grew up in a space where my father was not trying to hear the backstory, not trying to hear the thought process and the emotional ups and downs that prevented me from doing the thing. He cared about the bottom line. Is it done? And I learned that a lot of people don't care about the why. They care about the, the what. Did it get done or not?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that put me in a place of kind of emotional isolation, where I couldn't speak my mind, where I didn't feel safe expressing myself. And I learned, growing up, that there's a lot of people like that, like me out there. And I show up in support of them. Like, no, there is a thought process behind it. You deserve to be heard out, and we get to do the thing. So a lot of times, oh, I'm afraid to go live. All right, hit the button right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right now. We
Oh,
going live right now. What's
don't
up?
play with me. You hitting a button.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out what it's like, and then you can
Yeah.
make a choice after that. You
Right.
can make a
Yeah.
choice later, the different choice.
Yeah. We're gonna expose you to it.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, listen, we have been here for, just so you guys know, we started here at 4 p.m. Eastern, and 1 p.m. Pacific. So we've been here for a little over an hour, and we decided to do this somewhere between 30 minutes and an hour. So what we're going to do is get ready to cut it short, because we're coming back. We'll be back at another time to chat in front of you, to talk about some things. If there's anything that you think that you want us to talk about in this space, DM one of us and let us know. Give him a quick follow, give me a quick follow if you desire to do so. And stay in touch, because we're going to be back with more conversations.
That's love. That's
Yeah.
love. Can I drop a gift?
Go ahead, let's do it. Give them something.
Hey, yeah, yes, indeed. Because we don't get to stop right here and right now. We got a lot of things cooking up. And what I want to give to everybody listening that made it through the entire live is just a simple form: 10 questions to identify any limiting beliefs that might be holding you back from your dream life. Super simple and quick. I'm dropping the link in the chat right now. The link is also in my bio. Check that out. And yeah, let's talk again soon.
All right. So guys, in order, you cannot click that link right there, right? So it's here on the screen. Two things. Screenshot it real quick so that you can retype it in. The other thing will be to go to follow him and go to the link in his bio and click on that. So make sure you take the action, and immediate action is what needs to be taken, because we don't need you guys to be like squirrels and all over the place. As soon as we close this out, you go do something else and you totally forget about it. Okay. What was it that you gave them? 10 what?
10 questions to identify any limiting beliefs that might be holding you back.
All right. And what's a limiting belief?
A limiting belief is a belief that holds you back. It's a belief that um says that you can't get, you don't deserve, it's not the right time, I'm not the right person. And they're beliefs that are typically developed in early childhood, ages 1 through 7, when we're trying to make sense of the world and we're associating different things with meanings, right? That aren't necessarily the accurate meaning, and we carry out those meanings throughout our entire lives. They create an identity and they create our limitations. They usually manifest as procrastination, hesitation, self-doubt, hesitation, all of the things that hold us back and weigh us down. So this first step to overcoming them and creating a life by design is identifying them. So I created a quick free PDF to help anybody who's interested in doing that.
There's a question. How do you know it's a belief?
It, how do you know it's a belief? Well, it's always a belief. I wish I had a better answer, but I believe that life ends and begins in between your two ears, starts and ends in between your two ears. So it's always a matter of perception. It's always a matter of our filter that determines our experience in life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and belief is what will drive you or it'll take you out, because what you believe is, you attach yourself to the belief. It's like, yeah, I know. It's kind of like what you know to be true until it's proven otherwise.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's another way I could say it.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
beliefs are always interchangeable and malleable and all of that stuff. And what you believe tends to become your truth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's why I believe and I know that I am a multimillionaire. Hello?
That's what I'm talking about. You and I both.
For real. With a straight face.
Big time. Straight heart, too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes, indeed.
Yep. And every time I talk about that, I just state that I don't know how
Mm.
as of present. That's it. That's all I can say because it's
Mhm.
happening. Because it's here. It's here.
It's gonna be through service. I bet a good amount of money that it's gonna be through service, and that's what you're doing here every single day. I'm watching you. I'm inspired by you, and I'm happy that we had the opportunity to connect.
Yes, likewise, likewise. And I'm excited that we are here sharing this conversation with everyone else, with your amazing mind and just the way you think and the way that you are moving. I love it. So I'm excited to be here with you as well. And guys, we'll be back. We will be back to give you more of this because we've had some behind the scenes conversations and we just knew that we had to bring them to the forefront because these things that we're talking about are real life issues, real life things that everyone needs to hear about. So that as you hear more of it, you know, you provide your own corrections and you will also stay more connected to us because we here. And we'll tell you what's coming up soon too. So y'all just stay tuned. All right. That's all I'm going to say. All right.
Love, love.
Okay, well, we'll close out now. Thank you all for joining. We will see you next time. We'll be putting up a flyer or something so you can look for that to know when we're coming back. Good night.
Peace.
Bye.